Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you very much for Sunmarke for having me here and for Devika for inviting me. I do hope you get something out of today's talk. If not, let me know afterwards and I'll refund you whatever money that you paid to be here. What I thought about when I was preparing for this talk is to challenge you in terms of what is your internal dialogue? How do you communicate with yourself? How do you communicate with the intelligence that exists inside your own body? In chiropractic terms, we talk about the primary premise is that there is a God. Doesn't matter what you call him, or he or she or it doesn't matter. But there is a God, and that God gave us an intelligence inside our body. Isn't that impressive? And so our job is to work with that intelligence. And as we work with that intelligence, we maximize our level of health, our expression, our capabilities in terms of changing this world. I don't believe that we're here just to float along. So anyone who believes that we're here just to float along, great. At least I've got some a level of intelligence working today. So my name is Dr. T, Dr. Travis. If you really want to be formal, Dr. Mitchell, but only my parents call me that. They paid me the money to get there, so I feel that they have to. But otherwise, most people just call me Dr. T. I have business cards of mine. I'm on social media. I am a WhatsApp away. So if after today's talk you want to clarify something or ask questions, please go ahead. I am a high school dropout. And I don't tell you because I'm in a high school. I tell you that because I didn't feel education really worked for me. And so I got to the end of standard 9, which is grade 11. I don't know what that works for you guys. And I failed. And I sat there and I thought, this is not how my life is supposed to be. And certainly if I'm going to make a difference in this world, I'm going to have to make a difference to myself. And that was the start of my journey. And so I've been in practice for 19 years. I am 44 this year, even though I look like I'm 21. And I'll tell you the secret is what I'm going to present to you now is how do you have that dialogue with yourself? Because if you can start today with that dialogue, and it's great that I'm working with parents here, because if we can then not only have the dialogue with ourselves, but we can change the dialogue for our kids, wow, what a difference. This world is definitively going to have to move in a different direction. So let's ask the question straight off the bat. Who enjoyed COVID? Yeah, why did you enjoy COVID, sir?
It was a very different situation which life put us in. So most things changed and most things were unavailable before, they became available.
Right. Who was negatively impacted by COVID? I won't ask any questions why or how. Who was negatively impacted by COVID? I was here in Dubai and I was away from my family for 8 months. That was not fun. Who else was negatively impacted by COVID? Who is healthier today post-COVID than what they were pre-COVID? Who's healthier post-COVID than what they were pre-COVID? Who's more unhealthy? Now listen, if you're going to participate, you can't just do this, yeah? You've got to make sure that everyone else knows that you're involved, yeah? So who is more unhealthy post-COVID than they were pre-COVID? Right? Fantastic. So today, really what I wanted to do is to make sure that you understood the 3 aspects of what I define as finding your complete state. And that is, number 1, being healthy. This physiology has certain rules. And if we have time when I get to the end, I'm going to show you the rules that I believe in. This physiology has rules. Now, in terms of going to a shop, if you go and take something from the shop, but you don't pay for it, that is breaking the rules. Same for physiology. If you break the rules with physiology, I promise you're going to pay. The bad news is you might not pay for it today, but you'll pay for it down the road. And I think that's the biggest challenge with health, is you can do something wrong today, you don't feel that immediate impact, and you think, meh, it's okay, I can continue to do that. Now, you'll see happiness. I spell happiness with a Y. That's not because I failed school. I do know that happiness is spelled with an I. Just take it easy. But I spell it with a Y because I want to shift that concept. I'm not talking about happiness in terms of you watch a happy movie and you smile and you go, oh, that was nice. I really want you internally to feel happy. I really want you to have that neurochemistry that shifts you every day to not go out and just do the same old, but that you have something inside of you that makes you go out and do a difference. How does that sound? Yeah? Is that cool? Ah, there she is. I thought she wasn't going to arrive. She organized me to be here and then she didn't arrive. That'd be fun. And when we talk about happiness, I talk about neurochemistry a whole bunch. That is my level of interest, is how the brain and the body relate to each other. And again, I want you to make sure that you're not just getting your neurochemistry from your coffee. I see we all got coffee, including me. I needed something just to calm my nerves a little bit, obviously, you understand that. But we need to do something that shifts your neurochemistry so that every day you have that power to go out and make a difference. And the last thing is longevity. Hopefully, you're all going to say to me that you know that you can't choose what age you live to, but you can certainly choose the quality of life. And that's a big focus for me, is to make sure that when you leave here today, you're choosing how to do something different for your quality of life, for your family, for your community, and ultimately for the world. So Mr. Thomas Edison, I like his quote. And so my question first foremost to you today is, are you truly healthy? Are you living your best life? And when we look at that, we have to use a very big word called homeostasis. Who has heard of the word homeostasis? Nobody? Wow. Okay, so today you've just learned a new word. Write it down, homeostasis. So homeostasis is the biological term that denotes balance. So that means the body is constantly wanting to find a level of balance. The problem with homeostasis is it does not denote the quality of balance. So for example, you can be in an optimal state of balance. You can be in a mediocre state of balance. You can also be in a state of balance. Now, a lot of people that are in hospital on life support machinery, they're in homeostasis. The life support machinery is keeping them alive. They don't die, even though everything is saying that they should, but they're in homeostasis. Now, homeostasis means the body's trying to keep you alive. But it's not necessarily showing that optimal state. So if your weight is constant, if your health is constant, that means you're in homeostatic balance right now, which might be good for you if that's your optimal state. But it might need to shift if you're in a mediocre level. So let's use weight as an example. How many people would like to shift their weight? Either make it more or less. How many people would like to shift their weight? Yes? Everybody? Most people? Yeah? So if your weight is constant, that means you're in homeostasis. That means you're going to have to do something different to get it to come out of homeostasis. Does it make sense? Yep. And you'll see that I have a nice little chat here about homeostasis versus allostasis. And I really want you to have a look at this word allostasis as well. Allostasis is much cleaner. Allostasis is how your body knows to adapt to its environment. Now, we don't want to just have that same level of balance. We want to be able to adapt. And this is, for me, a big part of my conversation in terms of where we are pre versus post-COVID. Number one, I don't think we understood health pre-COVID. Why I say that is because COVID came out and it said, yeah, if you've got pre-existing conditions, you're in trouble. If you don't have pre-existing conditions, you should be okay. I know personally people who have the most hectic pre-existing conditions, heart problems, diabetes, all sorts of stuff. They had a mild cold. I know people who were perfectly healthy, yeah? Perfectly healthy. And within 10 days, they were dead. I was influenced by COVID. Patients, friends, family. Perfectly healthy. Now, here's my challenge. If you are perfectly healthy, you should have adapted allostatically. You should have adapted to a COVID virus. Let me make this clear. COVID has been around since 1960. We know about SARS viruses. Let me explain something else to you. Viruses are only going to get more crazy. They have to. That's their adaptive approach. So if they're going to get more crazy, that means we have to get more adaptive as well. And if you're not getting more adaptive, this definition of I am healthy might not necessarily be working for you. If you haven't read the book by Viktor Frankl, I would really suggest that you do so. It's a book set in World War II, Holocaust, concentration camps, very moving. And he talks so much about the choice that you have. And this, for me, with my patients every single day, I look them cleanly in the eye and I say, what are you choosing to do different? In order to get allostasis, you've got to keep doing something different. You know, if you say that you're healthy now, does that necessarily mean longevity you're going to have that state of health? So you've got to keep making those choices in terms of what's going to move you forward. And most people sit back and they think, it's okay, I'll just move through this. I want you to make it as a deliberate effort, so much so that we make our kids make those deliberate effort, that deliberate decision. So in preparation for today, I looked at some statistics. Oops, I'm a couple of things back. Let's go back. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So in preparation to today, I looked at some statistics of where we are in Dubai, where we are in the UAE in terms of healthcare. A couple of very important things. On this side here, this was a self-rated health statistic. And as you can see, most people, 50 to 60%, national, non-national, said, yeah, I'm healthy. When we looked at their ability to perform household activities and work activities, you will see that some people struggled in terms of performing their household activities. So here we have a nice statistic. I think I'm healthy, but at the same time, I'm struggling to perform my daily household work activities. And the other one I thought was really interesting is the percentage of people who buy a BMI. Now, let me make this clear. I'm not a fan of BMI, yeah, because I think it really puts people into a bracket that is not necessarily 100% accurate. But let's just use this. BMI, what is the percentage of people that are in the obese category versus normal and underweight? So here you have most people saying, hey, I'm healthy. Meanwhile, can't perform activities of daily living and are sitting in the obese category. So, where am I at now? There we go. I just push the extra button. So, as a chiropractor, what we firmly believe in is that innate intelligence or internal intelligence. And what we believe is our duty is to strengthen that constantly. So that doesn't mean limiting exposure. That means actually taking exposure. Because each time you take exposure, you actually get the chance of strengthening your body. And we can use this in simple immunity terms. Yeah? So you face a virus. In South Africa, we use the word hoho. Everyone, can you say the word hoho? You've got to make a deep sound in the back of your throat. Hoho. Let me hear it. Hey, that's not bad. So a hoho denotes anything that's a virus, a bacteria, anything that's harmful to the body. So anytime your body faces a hoho of any sort, you have to engage immune response. Now, if you've dealt with that virus or bacteria before, your body already has immunity. That means it's strong enough to take care of that. Yeah? If not, you're going to engage in a fight, and then after the effect, your immune system should strengthen. So how many of you know after each viral or bacterial infection, did your body actually strengthen? Which means next time you face the same hoho, you've got immunity. You don't even have to worry about it. I know plenty of people that 4, 5, 6, 7 times later, they're still getting COVID. Yeah? And each time they get it, it's somehow worse or different. Yeah? I'm always grateful because those people that get it 6 or 7 times, they take away from me. I've never had COVID, or at least not that I know of. So I said, thank you so much for taking that extra dose just for me. Yeah. So if you have it more than once, why did your body not strengthen as a result? And hopefully you know how to build that strength in your immune system. So as a chiropractor, we talk about alignment. Now, most people that go to who's been to a chiropractor before? Right? Yeah, it's really sad that in this world today, we have just about 5% of the world's population that goes to a chiropractor. And I do challenge you that after today, that, maybe I've done something that's got you to think something different, that you're willing to actually, maybe go and try a crazy chiropractor. If you don't know where a chiropractor is, just message me, and I'll find the chiropractor next to you, close to you, who's going to do a good job for you, yeah? But most people think they go to a chiropractor, or they've seen those videos on YouTube where the guy crunches something. And then you look at it and you go, yeah, that doesn't look fun. Why would you want to do that? And some people come to me and they say, to be in alignment. And I say, yes, well done. But what does it mean to being in alignment? And how does that work to strengthening this whole system? So when we talk about alignment, most people come to see me and they've got neck pain at the top of their head. It's hurting here. But they don't realize that their foot has gone funny. I had a lady yesterday, very interesting. She lost her baby toe. She didn't want to tell me why or how, but she lost her baby toe. So when she walks, can you imagine a baby toe? I mean, who thinks about their baby toe, how important a baby toe is? I mean, you can't even put makeup on the baby toe. That's how small it is, yeah? But because she had lost her baby toe, she was now walking with a funny limp. And that was having an impact on her pelvis, an impact on her bladder, and it went from there. So when people come see me for just a neck pain or a back pain, where are you out of alignment? Now, I take it one step further. So body alignment, brain to body alignment, that's how your neurochemistry controls the body. In this world today, the greatest amount of medication is for mental illness. SSRIs, you don't have to raise your hand, but who's on an SSRI? Who's on an antidepressant of some sort? Anti-anxiety, a sleeping tablet of some sort. It's one of the largest populations of people in this world that have to be on some medication to stabilize how their brain and their body works together. And then we go mind alignment. Did you know that how you think changes how your body functions? I can do an applied kinesiology test where we test your muscle strength. I give you positive affirmation, nice and strong. I give you negative affirmation, body goes weak. We know that in terms of water, if you give water positive wording, it makes water more effective in terms of how your body responds to that. Isn't that incredible? And then lastly, how does your soul fit into this? It's one of my funny things that I chat to any person across the religious spectrum. You know, I have patients that are Christians, Muslims, whatever, come to see me, and they're all overweight. And I ask the question, where in the Bible or the Quran does it say that you're allowed to be overweight? Because in the Bible that I read, it says the body is the living temple of the Lord, which means that you should be taking care of the body. Yeah? That's if you believe that there's a greater source. So when I talk about alignment in my office, I want to know where you're out of alignment. Yeah? You might be presenting with knee pain, for example, or a bladder problem, but where does that come from? If we can understand where your out of alignment comes from, wow, then we can have a way of saying, let's address that for you. And let's help you to address that for yourself every single day. Because the one thing that we do know is every single person has inherent challenges. You have a challenge of some sort. You know, there's mostly women in the audience here, so most of them are perfect. Sorry for you and I, sir. We're not that perfect, but it's okay. I had to try and get some response there. So we're not perfect. We have inherent challenges, and our job is to understand our inherent challenges so that we can work with them going forward. So when we're talking about challenges, every single day we're facing a challenge of some sort. There's physical challenges, emotional challenges, chemical challenges, ex-wife challenges, mother-in-law challenges. We take challenges every single day, yeah? And so when we come back to those terms at the beginning, allostasis versus homeostasis, if you're taking a challenge and you're stuck in that same level of homeostasis, you actually cause the slow rot. And this is the problem. We call it boiling frogs. So if you take a frog and you throw it into a pot of hot water, it will jump straight out. It picks up the water temperature, doesn't like it, and jumps straight out, yeah? But unfortunately, for most human beings, we're the second frog. We're sitting in the pot, and it's slowly warming up. And that's how our health slowly deteriorates, yeah? And it's because we're constantly facing challenges every single day. And I want to make sure that you know that internal dialogue. How are you responding to each and every day? There should be a moment every morning. Who has a morning ritual and routine where you wake up in the morning and you think, okay, how do I recognize where I'm at, mind, body, soul, and then work through different things to bring yourself back into a semblance of normality? Who does that first thing in the morning? Yeah? Who wakes up with a cup of coffee, gets in the car, and rushes to the school to drop their kids off? Right. So there should be a way of knowing whether you are compensating or whether you're adapting. And as we said, is allostasis is the ability for your body to constantly adapt, no matter what the challenge is. So this is what I see every day in the office. And if you don't mind, just feel the shoulders behind you and feel these muscles. How stiff and tight and sensitive are those muscles? So most people, if they go for a massage, they lie there and the lady does her business and, you feel super relaxed. And then you get out of that and within an hour or a day, what happens to that tension? It comes back. Because unfortunately, that tension is there not as a cause of something. It is there as an effect of something. So as you're moving down the scale of alignment, you're either going to be moving towards what we call compensation, or you're going to be moving towards adaptation. If you're compensating, it always starts myofascial. Another big word, myofascial. That means muscles, ligaments, and tendons. So most people that go to see a chiropractor, they go to a chiropractor because muscles, ligaments, and tendons are in pain or in discomfort of some other sort. But what I want to explain to you is the myofascial system is that supports everything. So if you felt these muscles here and they were nice and soft, pat yourself on the back, brag at the next parent meeting because you're going to be hundreds. But if you felt that there was even the slightest bit of tension there, know that your body is under strain. So that's the simple thing. Not, am I healthy? Yes, I'm healthy. Have another swig of your coffee. It is, do I have tension in my body? If the answer is you have tension, you're not as healthy as what you could be, because that tension leads to traction. And when we have traction, that's the person that's now pulling on some part of the body. Now, don't just think joints. Every internal organ is attached to the frame. So if you're having traction, you start to pull on a part of your body that you didn't think was related. For example, I have a lot of people come see me with high blood pressure. Whose blood pressure is normal? Whose blood pressure is high? Yeah? So if you've got high blood pressure, that means that there is some traction on your circulatory system. I give them a thoracic adjustment, and we drop blood pressure significantly. Why? Because the heart is tractioned by bad posture. Yep? So once you have that traction, now it starts to create neurological tension. And this is what I'm seeing in South Africa at least. I haven't been too much in Dubai since COVID, but in South Africa, I'm seeing significant amounts of neurological stress. And your take home from today when I finish is I'm going to show you a little way that you can do it. If you've got a smartwatch or you can go get yourself a polar heart rate monitor, there's a simple way of determining how much neurological stress that you have. By the time you have neurological stress, I'm not talking about a pinched nerve. Most people come to chiropractor and say, I got a pinched nerve here. Don't you want to just crack it up? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about stress on your nervous system. That means that the communication between your brain and body is now challenged. I'll give you a simple example. My wife's name is Desiree, and I call her Angel. So can you imagine I'm sending my wife a message saying, hey, Angel, I'm just finishing this presentation. I'll be home soon. And somehow predictive text changes the word Angel to Angie. Can you imagine how much that's going to cause a problem, yeah? My wife's name is Desiree, if you didn't get it. So when we're having neurological stress, now the brain is no longer sending the right message to the body, and vice versa, the body is no longer receiving and sending the right message back to the brain. And once you hit neurological stress, we start to move into a massive challenge. The massive challenge is what you can see at the bottom of this chart, which is called an exhausted nervous system. So when I say a person should be in alignment, I'm saying you should be in a balanced nervous system, and as you'll see, resistant to infections. What happens when you're out of balance, you're going to go into one of those three states. Now, if you can have a look, you'll see on each one of them, irritability, mood swings, anxiety. I've never met a person in my office with even the subtlest amount of back problems of some sort that doesn't have any associated mental challenges that go with it, whether they're willing to admit it to me or not. And unfortunately, if you stay in that level of neurological stress for long enough, it starts to move into what we call an exhausted nervous system. And in South Africa today, in my practice in South Africa, I have had the most amount, post-COVID, most amount of chronic degenerative neurological conditions, multiple sclerosis. I've got a gentleman, myalgia. Myalgia is basically where your nervous system stops sending information to all the muscles. Epstein-Barr, amyloid sclerosis, or Lou Gehrig's disease, massive proportion of people that are suffering with neurological degeneration. So hopefully you've had some aha moments at this point in time. Choices make a difference, small increments of change over time, regular routines, and then Goldilocks. We haven't spoken about Goldilocks yet. Who knows of the story of Goldilocks? Because I am going to come to you and ask you about Goldilocks. So if you put your hand up, you better make sure you know something about Goldilocks. Yes, ma'am. What do you know about Goldilocks?
We've got small children. That's the reason why I know it.
It's okay. Don't have to defend yourself. I still know about Goldilocks.
She goes to a house and she enters, and one time the chair is too big, and then it's still too big, and then just right. And then she goes to a bed, it's too hard, too soft, and then just right.
Fantastic, fantastic. Is that what everyone else knows about the story? Who does not know about the story of Goldilocks? I'm always interested because for me, when I grew up, Goldilocks was a fairy tale that I learned. I showed it to my son. But anyway, so as the lady was saying, Goldilocks goes into a house. I mean, in this day and age, if you walked into someone else's house, it's a criminal offense. But in that day, I mean, we're talking 300 years ago, it was somehow acceptable. And first she tried the porridge. There were 3 porridges. And the first porridge was too hot. The second porridge was too cold. The third porridge was just right. Then she sat on the chair. The first chair was too hard. Second chair was too soft. Third chair just right. Finally, she went and lay in the beds. First bed was too hard. Second bed was too soft. Third bed was just right. And just for those that know about Goldilocks, Mom and Dad Bear had marital problems. How do we know that they had separate beds? So just keep that in mind, okay? So the reason why we talk about just right is because ultimately when you're working with your body, there is no one size fits all, yeah? So in terms of eating plan, we know of paleo, we know of Banting, we know of this, we know of that. And I'll say, yeah, this works well for me. For example, 2 years ago in COVID, I decided to become a vegetarian. I'm a South African, I'm a meat eater. I gave it up completely. It is wonderful for my body. I have an amazing amount of energy, and I'd say it's one of my secrets. My wife and my son, because I'm that crazy, they decided to do it with me. And for both of them, it doesn't work. They have to have animal products. So I'm not a one-size-fits-all. You have to find out what is right for you. And the last thing we'll chat about will show you, hopefully, how you know. Because again, if you know that you're in alignment, if you know that you're in balance, you know what you're doing is working for you, yeah? It's not a belief system. It's a physiological answer. So when I was going through COVID, I was trying to understand how come some people who had all of those pre-existing conditions got a very mild case of COVID. And how people that I knew that were, in their definition, their family's definition, my definition, healthy, how come they died within 10 days? And what I looked at, which I found was very interesting, this thing called heart rate variability. Now, for me, I've been doing heart rate variability for myself every single day for the last 10 years. But I've kept it a secret. So I'm just letting you know, I've given you the secret today. This is incredible. I can predict for myself when my immune system, I've traveled 3 countries in the last 3 days. So I know that I'm challenging my body right now, yeah? And I just took some coffee first thing in the morning without breakfast. Because if I had breakfast before I chatted to you guys, you would not have seen the presentation. You would have seen something else, yeah? So I had to make sure that I didn't have breakfast. I had some coffee to settle the nerves, all of those things, yeah? But can you understand, all of this is a constant stress on my body. So at some time, I have to re-regulate. And if I don't know when to re-regulate and I keep burning, can you understand where we get to that neurological stress point of view? Yeah? And how's this? Higher HRV, so the higher your HRV is, the better. Yeah? Lower, the worse. Predict a greater chance of survival, especially in patients aged 70 and older with COVID. Wow. And the one study I saw, it was a 93% predictor. Can you imagine? I mean, when we started with the vaccines, I'm not here to diss the vaccines, okay? But when we started with the vaccines started at 100% success rate, yeah? And then slowly, as things went on, that success rate just dropped lower and lower and lower. And all of us, whether you were pro-vax or anti-vax or somewhere on the fence, I was always on the fence. I went, you're starting off at 100%, and now you're starting to decrease that. I'm not so comfortable knowing that you don't know what's happening with the vaccination, yeah? And I'm just letting you know, going forward, if we have more pandemics, there will be more vaccinations that go with it. So you're going to have to make certain that you're comfortable with those decisions, yeah? And so here, high predict, up to 93% prediction. I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. And the other side is low HRV predicted ICU indications and admissions in the first week of hospitalization. Now, it's so simple. Here is a heartbeat. Yeah, as you can see, it's an up and it's a down. They call it the QRST. Don't worry too much about it. And every time the heartbeat goes up, you can measure the gap between the heartbeats. And so what they will give you is a variable invariability. Yeah? So they call it a sine wave. Who's a mathematical genius in the audience? Mathematical geniuses, I'm glad because I'm not one of them. But they call it a sine wave. Yeah, and a sine wave, if you measure it, the height to the depth is the same. The width to the width is the same. Yeah? And so you get this beautiful sine wave. And what they look at is they give you an indication of how clean that sine wave looks. And that's your heart rate variability. 100, it's the most perfect shape. 0, it's all erratic. And this is how your body neurochemically is dancing every single day. And you can do it live time. You can do it first thing in the morning. You can do it right now. You can do it any time of the day. And you can assess live time situationally where you are. Isn't that amazing? Who knew about heart rate variability? One. Hey, at least I've changed somebody's life today. And again, it's as simple. Most heart rate watches do give you a stress factor. I don't think it's necessarily called heart rate variability on Apple, but they do give you a stress factor. And that means from today, you can start to test whether you're in alignment or not. If you're out of alignment, my advice is do something different. Now, let me make this clear. I'm not taking the work away from me as a chiropractor. You know, for most people that are that significantly out of alignment and they cannot shift it, you need to go to someone. And I think now more than ever, and that's why David and I are friends still 20 years later, is now more than ever, we cannot have medical practitioners working in isolation. We have to have medical practitioners working in a team. And I still have patients that come to see me. They've got 5 different practitioners, and not one of them speak to each other. So if there's another tidbit that you take home from today, make sure all of your practitioners, whether that's a gym instructor to your professor, every practitioner of whatever sort that works with you is in communication with the other practitioner so that there's a conversation of what you're doing and how they're all helping you to move forward. So you want to be healthier? This is my statement. Get into alignment. Train from there for adaptive conditioning. What makes the difference is how clean your alignment is and how well you train. When we talk about training, what you've got to understand is every day you're training your physiology. Yeah? So this cup of coffee that I'm drinking, this is training my heart rate to do what? To go up. The most funniest thing that I know of people who drink coffee on a regular basis, who drinks coffee like 3, 4, 5 cups a day? I know people that can have a cup of coffee and go to sleep straight after it. Yeah? They think it's the most amazing sleeping tablet. It is physiologically impossible because coffee raises your heart rate. If it raises your heart rate, you won't be able to get into deep sleep. But there are so many people that drink so many cups of coffee a day that they have created a homeostatic balance towards that. So for them, not an issue. I'm just letting you know it is influencing your physiology. Yeah? Another good one is exercise. Most people tell me that they exercise to help them with their stress. Who exercises to help them with their stress? Yep. Let me explain this to you. There's a thing called eustress. EU stress. Write it down. EU stress. EU stress is positive stress. But you've got to do something for it. Yeah? So if you exercise, the purpose of exercise is to make the body stronger. How does it make the body stronger? It's challenging the body. So exercise is a stress. How do we know that? Because if you exercise and your heart rate goes up, you're stressing your physiology. If you do something to counteract that, then you get the benefit. That means recuperation is important for exercise. Yep. So my wife is a CrossFitter. I'm glad that she's not here because she's going to beat me up. But CrossFitters are the greatest people at stressing their body and not giving their body time to recuperate. So if you exercise, make sure you recuperate. If you're exercising without recuperation, it's a problem. If you're recuperating without exercise, it's also a problem. Yep. So how are you training your body every day? And so this is where I ask the question, what did you do for your body today? What brought your body back into alignment this morning when you woke up? And at the end of every one of my chats, I always ask, what did you learn and what you're going to do different? So keep these questions in mind because I'm going to go around and I'm going to ask that. And let's see where you're at and where you're moving forward. What did you do for your brain today? Now, I'm just letting you know, Instagram, this, is not good for your brain. Yeah? Just letting you know, it's not good for your brain. Yeah? What did you do for your mind today? What did you do for your soul today? So this is a fun one with my son. So we're sitting at dinner. I'm Christian. We pray before every meal. And so the food is on the table, yeah? And my son, we always make my son pray before dinner. I prayed other times of the day, but we always make my son pray before dinner. And so he's looking at his food. He's 15 years old. Who's got a 15-year-old son? You will know what my troubles are. They eat non-stop, yeah? So he's sitting there. The food is in front of him, and I have to pray now. Do you know how quickly and insincere that prayer is so that he can get to food, yeah? So if you make a prayer that is insincere and quick, I'm just letting you know, oh my goodness, another friendly face at the back. You're not doing anything for your soul, yeah? And I advise, if you want to be in alignment and you want to train, you have to do stuff for your body, for your brain, for your mind, and for your soul every single day. So that's it. I'm done. I thought I was going to speak longer than that, so I apologize if your next meeting is in some time from now. But what we'll do is we'll go around the room. There's not too many people here. I want to know what you learned, what you're going to do different, what you did for yourself today, and if there's any questions, you're more than welcome to fire them at me. So let's start with that. Are there any questions from the presentation that anyone would like to ask? Yeah, thank heavens. Because they said if you do a presentation and no one asks a question, that means that the presentation was either amazing or absolutely terrible. I don't know, is this on?
I'm from India, and we are aware from various, religious backgrounds that things have to be done for the mind, the body, the soul, etc.
Thank you.
But life happens, and you're always telling yourself, "I'll do it after this. I'll do it after this." Okay. How can we take those small steps to do things for the mind and the body and the soul, is what I'm getting to.
I didn't want to make this talk too technical, but there's two systems that control the body. The first system is called your parasympathetic system. Parasympathetic, rest, digest, and healing. The other system is called your sympathetic, stress, flight, fright, and freeze. Yeah? Depending on where you are in the balance between the two, the heart rate variability gives you that difference. Your brain and your mind is going to make time decisions based according to that. If you are sympathetic dominant, time has a quantity. Time has a quantity if you're sympathetic dominant. That means you've only got 24 hours a day, and your job is to rush, 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 get through everything. If you are in the neurochemical state of parasympathetic, now time has a quality, which means you can get more done in the shortest possible time, best quality. So the answer to that is designate the time. You're going to say, shit, I've got to designate 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. Designate the time. I promise you, if you do it for 60 days non-stop, you designate that time correctly to getting yourself back into alignment, you will have more time in the day to get things accomplished. Other questions? Only one question, please. Somebody. Right? So let's go around. What did you learn today, ma'am? What are you going to take home from today's talk?
I learned that we need to really be strong in our minds to accomplish things for ourselves, to be healthy, to do exercise, try to, with those things in balance, or maybe, forcing ourselves to do more, it will help us to be healthier.
Fantastic. What did you do for yourself this morning? Mind, brain, body, soul. One of those. What did you do for yourself this morning?
Just to avoid maybe, sometimes, what I did is be strong, because sometimes when I prepare breakfast for my kids, sometimes I taste, and I say that is not good for me. So I just keep, okay, this is right. So I just packed it and it's fine, trust that is fine.
So you might feel threatened by chatting in front of everybody, but one thing I want to let you know is for me, the World Health Organization defined health as an optimal state, and they said physical, emotional, and social well-being. And I went, why is that social well-being? I can understand the physical well-being, and I can understand the emotional well-being, but where's that social well-being? And then COVID happened, and then we felt social separation. And then I went, That's where it is. And particularly in terms of a female-dominated audience, social well-being amongst females is incredibly powerful. And I would say that we've lost the art of sitting together. In South Africa, the main language is Zulu, and the word for sitting down together is xoxa indaba. Xoxa indaba. You've got to make the funny sound with your mouth. And that means not just sitting down and having a cup of coffee together. It's sitting down and sharing what's on your heart, yeah? So you don't have to do this. You can pass the microphone to someone else. But it's wonderful, not that you've learned something amazing from my talk, but that you're willing to share with someone else in the audience, yeah? Oh, you got a question as well. Fantastic. I like that.
About to become vegan, not vegan, like vegetarian,
Yes.
not to eat the meat.
Yes.
How can we check, like you mentioned that for your family, they can't live without meat, right? They need it in their body. But how can we check? We need the meat or no?
So the heart rate variability shows it to you. So instead of your heart rate variability,
After we eat the meat,
you'll see within 3 months of me being vegetarian, my heart rate variability increased beautifully. Within 3 months of my wife and my son, I could see the fluctuations in their heart rate variability.
is there some place to go and check it?
What, the heart rate variability?
No, I mean
The research.
Yeah, like to check from our blood, some test.
I don't know that answer. I'm sure that there are a full panel of blood results that somebody could check on you. I know different practitioners that would be able to do that. That's not within my scope of practice. But there is certainly ways of assessing from a blood point of view whether vegetarianism works for you or whether this works for you or that works for you. There are certainly ways of doing that. So if you want to send me a message afterwards, I'll guide you in that direction.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
What did you learn from today's talk? What did you do for yourself this morning? Mind, body, soul, spirit.
Soul, we pray. Muslims, we pray
Yes.
every day. Like before, like when we wake up, before washing our face, we pray. And before going to sleep, we pray. And when we stand up, we pray. Like it's automatically coming.
Good.
And I did only soul today, and I didn't have my breakfast, only coffee. And after here, I have a class. I need to go, like socializing. Here also socializing, by the way. Yeah, that's it.
Right. Make sure you do something else, okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have some questions for you as well on a form.
Ah, perfect. Ah, perfect.
Hello, everybody. I've got a small question. My kid is type 1 diabetic, and he is always on high run. He's very smart, very energetic, and I feel that he's wearing himself down. And in the end, in the evening, he's exhausted and almost crying. And I'm always trying to explain him that he should be on a slow side a little bit, and even teachers ask him to do yoga, but he's very tired after school, so he's just hanging out at home on the sofa, and I can't repeat it all the time. It would be nagging. He would say, "Leave me alone." And what can I do from my side?
So when I spoke about inherent weaknesses, type 1 diabetes is one of those inherent weaknesses. So thank you for bringing that to the party. And at this point in time, our understanding of how to get rid of type 1 diabetes is so we can't. So in essence, a person who has type 1 diabetes has to live with that. I would definitely show him heart rate variability. One of the things that I've seen in my practice is it's a very visual understanding. So he will be able to see whether he is regulating for himself, whether he's adaptive. If you're constantly on the low level, he will then see that and say, hey, I'm constantly on a low level. How do I change that? One of the other nursery rhymes that I learned, maybe you'll know about the tortoise and the hare. And the tortoise said, slow and steady wins the race. So you will have to teach them. But, when you talk about nagging, I know that. My 15-year-old son, he still doesn't brush his teeth correctly, and he still doesn't make his bed properly. So nagging is a parental privilege. But if you showed him that, and I've certainly done that with my son, showed him visually, or kinesthetically, show them. you'll see that he gets that understanding of, I'm burning myself, and my body is feeling that burn. How am I recuperating? I'm not recuperating, and this is the result. And if you can show that to him, hopefully that will be able to help. And heart rate variability will definitely be a way of showing that to him. Yep? Questions? Anxiety during exam preparation and meeting assignment deadline. Whew. Yeah, I mean, I had anxiety this morning coming for this talk. The key for anxiety, as I know it, is how do you regulate through anxiety? So again, those two systems, sympathetic, parasympathetic, yeah? My sympathetic system was engaging this morning. Why? Because I was going to do a talk and presentation in front of you. And it is stressful. How do I regulate my sympathetic versus my parasympathetic so that I don't just stand here frozen and not get words out, yeah? That I'm actually able to start to engage. And I think breathing practices is the simplest way. So if anyone struggles with anxiety, there's a very simple breathing practice. And again, if you send me a message, I'll send you I've got a one-page, a PDF, I can send you the breathing practice. And I think if we all start with a simple breathing practice included in our prayer time, you'll find that that really has a massive impact, yeah? Practical ways to help children with anxiety. I've already given that answer. How to be able to really appreciate small good moments, for example, time with the kids without thinking about everyday life and challenges. This one, I will tell you, has been one of my biggest plagues. I am a retired ADD, ADHD person. So, and I say retired because I'm learning how to adapt to that. And so when I'm with one person, I'm with 10 other scenarios, yeah? So it's really been something that I've had to train my mind. I'll give you one practical tip that helped me with that is Bruce Lee, he used to stare at a flame without blinking. And you think, that's strange. Yeah, how long can you stare at a flame without blinking? Every time you blink, the time starts again. And I found that a very powerful way of training my mind to focus in one direction. But there's quite a few other techniques that I have available that can help you with that. I want to gain knowledge on health. Did I give some knowledge on health today? Okay, so can I move on? Tips for inner peace. Tips for inner peace. Yeah, I mean, breathing, I think, is a really critical one. The other most exciting thing that I'm doing now is I'm doing ice plunge experiences at my office in South Africa, and I do know of people in Dubai that do it. Who's done cold water immersion? It's the most unpleasant thing. That means you get into a tank of ice cold water. The one that I have in South Africa, we take it down to 4 degrees. That means you're getting in at 4 degrees, yeah? Everything feels like it's going to freeze off. Everything says, I'm dying, let me jump out. And then this face sits in front of you, and I make you breathe. And in the beginning, your stress response kicks in, and then I talk you through it, get you to start breathing, and within a minute and a half, you've overridden your stress response. Most powerful thing ever, that you learned how to override your own stress response. At that minute and a half, 2 minutes, you get a kick of dopamine higher than most things known to man. And that kick of dopamine is sustained. And so they reckon between 10 and 15 minutes a day, 10 to 15 minutes a week of cold water exposure, including cold showers, is an incredible way of changing mind and body. I do a cold shower every morning in Dubai. It is not great because you stand there and it's warm water. But in South Africa, it's brilliant. But otherwise, there are different places in Dubai that I know that do cold water immersion. How to break free from the hustle culture. I spoke with, well, the lady disappeared. Oh, it was you. It was you, sorry. And I think that's really important, yeah? The time that you dedicate for parasympathetic changes the quality of the time that you spend through the rest of the day. Please elaborate on the connection between posture and mental health. This one's simple. There was Charlie Brown. Who knows Charlie Brown? It was a cartoon when I was a kid. Charlie Brown, yeah? So Charlie Brown was walking around like this, and he said, the worst thing to do when you're in a bad mood is to stand up straight, because all of a sudden, your mood lifts. And so it's very important that we are supposed to be bipedal gait, yeah? We are the only animal in the kingdom that walks on 2 feet as our standard way. And for me, I believe God instructed that perfectly because we have this prefrontal cortex, yeah? This prefrontal cortex is huge, so it has to be this way, not that way, yeah? So as we developed, this prefrontal cortex gets heavier and heavier and heavier, and it brings our head and our eye line straight. So when our eye line is straight and we're in good posture, we're maximizing the activation of your prefrontal cortex. When you're sitting like this, you're maximizing the activation of your brainstem. Brainstem, survival. Yes? You're either going to beat someone up, or you're going to run away, or you're going to freeze. When you activate the prefrontal cortex, you can think, should I smack that person or should I give them a hug? Yeah? And the prefrontal cortex is completely wired differently neurochemically. So that's the easiest way that I explain the connection between posture and mental health. What causes happiness? Is it genetic or caused by environmental factors? Hopefully I've answered that already today. My child is very athletic and active. During breaks between lessons, you can't run along the car. My goodness. Yeah, I mean, my answer to this is kids should be allowed to burn neurological energy. So I don't know the nature of the school. When I was chatting to Madonna, she said this school is a super cool school. As I was walking through, I saw some amazing things. You know, my answer is there should be a lot more movement in classrooms. There should be a lot more movement in classrooms. But also, we need to know what type of learners we have. If they're kinesthetic, if they're visual, they're auditory. I was a kinesthetic learner. So you've got to make me touch and feel something in order for me to understand it. My mom hated. She'd buy me a new toy, and I'd take it apart so that I could see how it worked. And when I was young, I didn't know how to put it back together. Now, I figured it out, fortunately. But yeah, that's how I learned. So I was very destructive as a kid, but I needed to know why. And so I see with a lot of kids in the class, they are in their sympathetic orientated state. And unfortunately, that means they're either going to fight someone, or they're going to run away, or they're going to freeze. If you're a teacher, you're lucky if the kid just parks there frozen. I was a runawayer. So whenever the teacher shouted at me, I just said, that's it, I'm done. And I'd get up and walk out of class. And then obviously you have those kids in class that are aggressive. You know, they're punching, they're moving. And so I think that there should be much more to help kids burn that neurological stress. And like I said to this lady today, is if you teach your kids about heart rate variability, they will take their own learning ability for their own body. Is that it? That's the questions. How are we doing for time? We've got 5 minutes left.
Okay,
Yes?
so I just wanted to say thank you very much
pleasure.
for your insight and knowledge today and coming to Sunmarke School.